Good morning, Andover. Good morning. Thank you. It warms my heart to see you all back here in Cochrane Chapel. Feels like it has been a long time, and in fact, it has been a long time. Much has happened in the last month or so, and before we get to the important celebration of the life of Dr. King and our day together, I wanted to take a moment to recognize the fact that this has been a hard few weeks for many people in this community. We have been touched by a tragedy in the family of one of our students, and we've been touched by the passing of a faculty member and faculty member's spouse. We grieve for the losses in the Andover family. We lean on one another for support, and we extend our hearts and prayers to those in pain. And I thought we would take a moment of silence this morning to mark the losses in our community. Thank you. I am glad to see you all back here safe and sound in Cochrane Chapel so that we might look ahead to the kind of community that we want to build together here at Andover. We come together today to celebrate both community and diversity, the pillars of what Phillips Academy is built on and what sets us apart, a community that is proudly built as a community of students and faculty from every quarter. I had the experience last year of being in my first year as head of school, as many of you know, and I had an experience of going through the year as though I were seeing the movie for the first time. I now feel like I've seen the movie for the first time, and one of the great highlights, I think, is Martin Luther King Day here at Andover. I think this is one of the things our community does right. We do not take the day off, we take the day on, and I think that is a wonderful way to mark this particular legacy, and I thank in particular Linda Carter-Griffith, her team in Camden, and all those students who have worked so hard to put on a great day. Thank you. And before I say a few things that are on my mind, I wanted also to mark the wonderful publication of this book, Out of the Blue, which is, I think, our guide for today and will be our guide for the next few years, a CAMD student project, but which has lots of fingerprints of adults in this community on it too. And I can think of no better person to kick off our celebration of this book and of this work than Maria Hinojosa, who is someone whose voice many of us know in a literal sense from NPR and from her podcast and from her journalism, who is our keynote speaker today. Ms. Hinojosa, thank you for honoring us with your presence. Thank you. I've been looking forward to hearing what you have to say and cannot wait. It will be fun. Often when we talk about diversity and when we think about Martin Luther King Day here at Andover, we talk about one of the core principles of the school, which is youth from every quarter, which, as you know, is enshrined in our Constitution dating back to 1778. That term has long been our guide and is alive and well at Andover, no doubt. I felt it in this chapel on Saturday when we had the day at Andover. Some of you were a part of that day. We had over 1,200 people here in a snowstorm, which is a school record of people wanting to come to Andover. You may know that you all have been chosen from classes of applicants that have come from 86 countries around the world in terms of those who wish to come to Andover and from every state in the country. And we choose this version of a community, youth from every quarter, very intentionally and I think with enormous results. Today, though, I wanted to emphasize another of our founding phrases, the idea of knowledge with goodness. You'll recall that our Constitution tells us that knowledge without goodness is dangerous. And when I went to the other school up north, this was one of those phrases that was also in that Constitution. So I've lived with this for a long time, and I actually love it. As our Constitution says, when knowledge and goodness are united, they, quote, form the noblest character and lay the surest foundation of usefulness to mankind. I take this phrase to mean that it is not enough for us merely to teach you how to add and subtract. I take this term to mean that it is not only about the core academic disciplines. You do need to learn critical thinking. You do need to learn to work in teams and how to be creative. But you also must learn while you're here how to combine knowledge with goodness. And I think that is why the admission office looks so hard for kids who are both smart and nice, as you well know. But what, you might ask with reason, does knowledge with goodness have to do with Martin Luther King Day or with community and diversity? But to my mind, it has everything to do with this day of celebration and reflection. Today we ask ourselves, what does it mean to be an individual in a community and to have voice? It has to do with how we at Andover want to be and who we want to be. And it has everything to do with character. What does it mean to have goodness along with knowledge that you're acquiring here at Andover? Goodness, to my mind, is a character trait. It's how we relate to one another. It's how we use the gifts that we have, both for ourselves and for one another. We see this goodness, this character trait, all around us. I thought I'd tell you a few places where I've seen that goodness in the last week here at Andover, some things that Ms. Hinojosa would not have had a chance to see, so I'm filling you in on our last week. I found this goodness, this strength of character, in the speech that Mira gave about her homeland Syria, rocked with war and torn by the geopolitics of our age. I found this goodness in the performances of all those students who created the stunning production of Dido and Aeneas, created completely from scratch, from the orchestra to the dancers to the singers. I found it in Fidelio and the soloists, Caroline and Adam and their friends, the graceful movements of all members of the dance team, Graham and Emily in their starring turns, of course. I found this goodness in the touching dedication of that performance to a teacher, friend, and faculty spouse whose passing we mourn together. I found this goodness in the way that many of you cheered on your classmates in sports over the last few weeks. A few highlights included the way in which a whole bunch of fans up against that plexiglass cheered on boys varsity hockey as they came from 4-2 down, 90 seconds to go, and scored 3 goals, 2 to tie it and then 1 to win it. And what the goodness, of course it was in the win, that's always good too, but the goodness to my mind were the friends who were banging on that plexiglass like this is probably not allowed, I don't know, I'm sorry Mr. Kuda, I love doing that though, and you can see it makes a big sound and it makes those players happy. I love that goodness. I loved the dances of the Slam team, the cheers led by Slam as girls varsity basketball made a comeback also on Saturday to beat a rival team, which was great. I found this goodness the other day in the stacks of Oliver Wendell Holmes' library as I was looking for a book with one of my children. We were looking, if you're curious, for Encyclopedia Brown, which my 8-year-old is into at the moment. There's a complete collection I found in the first floor, but I found it in there as a senior was explaining some science that I couldn't possibly comprehend to another friend in the stacks, and I loved it. I read this goodness in the request of one senior, Samantha, that I say happy birthday to her senior roommate, Amelia, who is having a birthday today. I say happy birthday. I see you about 6 rows back. Happy birthday. I see this goodness in classrooms that I visit across campus. Some of the great joy of my life is teaching my own class, of course, but also visiting with others. To embrace diversity and difference is not to accept lower standards. In our classrooms, we embrace the strength and the necessity of difference in our increasingly complex and interconnected world. We see the strength and excellence in page after page of this book that all of you produced out of the blue that tells the story of today's Andover better than any other text I think that we have. But most of all, I find this goodness on the pathways as I see your smiling faces going from one class to another or into the dining hall or off to arts or sports, making your mark on this school and this community and on one another's lives. I want to reflect before I close on a few things that I read in this book out of the blue. And note that I think its great strength is in the fact that at Andover we refuse to look away from the challenge of difference, but we look right at it. I've read this book cover to cover, and I hope you will too. It is worth doing. As you read out of the blue, you may find a piece of yourself in a particular essay or poem. You might be the writer who asked why girls can't swear the same way that boys can. You might be the boy who identified with Hamlet as he struggled with coming out here as a gay male. You might be the Gentile who goes to a camp predominantly for Jewish kids, or you might be the Jewish student who asked whether your own community takes enough action these days in political terms. You might be the student from, as you wrote, a small infamous town who asked and answered, quote, "People are always surprised when they see how hard I work in all aspects of my life." You might be the student who explained to all of us what it means to be at Andover coming from an Asian family. I wanted to speak directly, though, to one of the out-of-the-blue authors who wrote what I found to be an amazingly powerful statement. And those of you who have opened the book will know that these are, by and large, not signed essays, so I have no idea who wrote this. You wrote, "It's important to have diversity, 40% students of color. Is that why I'm here? For diversity? To help some rich kids cross racial barriers they created?" My response is both yes and no. Yes, you are here for diversity. But no, you are not alone in being here for diversity. We are all here for diversity, whether yours will be the first generation to go to college or whether your family has been attending Andover since it was founded. That's why we're all here, and it's what we all have to grapple with. I know that's why I'm here too. I know that I grapple with the identity of being a white male of privilege leading this institution at this time. We all have this to figure out and to grapple with, but it's all why we're here. The bottom line is that we come to Andover, we all come to Andover to live and to learn and to work together as an intentionally diverse community. And for many of us, this is the most diverse community in which we will ever live in our life. We are not perfect. No one of us is perfect. Andover is not perfect. We are all a work in progress, and this is our work, friends. This is our work. As our former associate head of school, Rebecca Sykes, whom I miss terribly, by the way, wrote in her essay, Out of the Blue, the point is not that we're so great at Andover at diversity. It is, quote, "We do not shy away from the hard conversations about race and other topics that can either divide us or join us together as a community." So to close, I'm struck as I read back in preparing for this speech through our Constitution of how well the various ideals of this school, founded 235 years ago, hang together. There is profound beauty in those words, in how these founding principles in fact support one another, as the best constitutions in the world do. We are blessed, not just with this community, but with a set of ideals that actually work. Non sibi means that we think not just of ourselves, which is inevitable, we always think of ourselves, but also of others. Knowledge with goodness means that we choose to apply our hard-earned knowledge and skills in pursuit of ends that are not just our self-interest, but the community interest, and I feel that every day at Andover. Youth from every quarter means that we draw strength. We draw strength from the diversity of perspective, of race, of gender, of sexuality, of class, of religion, of anything else that might divide us in our community. And we embrace excellence, not just in academics, in classic terms, but also in arts and in athletics, and not in the pursuit of a single truth, but in accomplishment across a vast array of things that you may come to master during your time at Andover, and we honor them all. Excellence means accomplishment and goodness in a diverse community. I'll close today with what I think is my favorite passage from this book, and again, please do read it all the way through. If you read as far as page 211, you will be rewarded with the following words. And again, I have no idea who wrote this, but I really like them. Day by day, I think I'm doing better, and I love Andover more and more. I have learned so much from people around me. Andover is a place where people always love you back if you love them. What a line that is, and how true that is. Over time, I feel very much part of the community. I'm grateful that I finally blend in and have such great teachers and friends. My heart is full of happiness right now because I have a lot to treasure. My mom says when people grow up, they do not simply receive more happiness, they learn how to find it. And there's one smart mom out there. I think I've found my happiness at Andover, and I'm looking for more. So to whomever you are who wrote that, I don't know whose voice it is, I'm deeply grateful, and I love you for what you wrote. I wish everyone a wonderful Martin Luther King Day for 2014 here at Andover, and I look forward to the rest of the day with you. Thank you so much.